Richard Moore at the back, ready to come in. My relationship goes back about 8 years when he coerced me into trekking through Guatemala with him. Richard's praying for a change in the weather in the last 45 minutes. If only to protect his heritage. So, ladies and gentlemen, any questions for Richard Moore, founder of Children Crossfire? Yes.
Get a microphone.
I've got a microphone here.
Paddy's got a mic, you can bring it to you. You just say where you're from.
Hi Richard, I'm Marion Shanley West. I'm from Drumlin Media TV. My question for you is, you've chosen a wonderful path of hope and a vocation of helping others. What was the moment that it all became clear that this was what you really wanted to do?
Well, I suppose the significant time in my life when I actually decided to do what I'm doing now was in Mississippi in 1992, believe it or not. And there's an organisation called AFRI who are based in Dublin. And at that time I was a businessman, but I used to sort of get involved in some of the work, the peace and justice work that they were doing, the global justice work that they were doing.
Yeah.
And as a fundraiser, they organised a walk across Mississippi. And I'm not going to the whole background of the walk because it'll take too long, but during that walk we walked with a Brazilian bishop, Brazilian Indians, and a Father Pat Clark from Dublin who basically worked in the Amazon with these Indians. And I was totally enthralled by the stories, I was totally enthralled by the work that he was doing. And it was at that point in time I decided I would like to use my personal experience of being shot and blinded and surviving what happened, and also just spend the rest of my life working in the area of helping children, really.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi Richard, Rona Tarrant from Radio 1, RTE Radio 1. Why in particular was it so important for you to work with children?
I think, I think primarily because of my own experience. That's the only answer I can come up with. As I say, I lost my sight when I was 10 years of age. On my way home from school, I was shot and blinded by a rubber bullet on the bottom of the school playground. And, despite what you might think was a terrible thing to happen, losing your eyesight in that way, my life has been very positive. My memories of childhood are very positive and I have very warm memories of childhood. It's not like I think about childhood as some awful thing because of what happened. So in my young adult years, I began to think about, well, why is that? And I think it's because of family, friends, and community, and opportunity. And I began to realise, I suppose, that there were children in other parts of the world that might have had their eyesight but didn't have what I had. And that's when I decided to set up Children in Crossfire and to focus on children.
Great, thanks Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard, Eileen Magna from RTE Television. This is obviously a very significant year for Derry. Why is it important to have the Dalai Lama here? What do you hope the visit will achieve?
I was delighted when the Dalai Lama agreed to come, and the reason why is because, Derry is the city of culture, and people often see that as music and art and stuff like that, but also there's a culture in Derry and throughout Northern Ireland, and maybe throughout the rest of Ireland, where there's a desire to help others. And for that reason, Children in Crossfire and organisations like Children in Crossfire are able to do their work because of the support they receive from the people on this island. So there is a real culture of compassion that exists here. And I thought, well, let's celebrate that. The other thing is, it's important that we use the opportunity to remind us that we've come a long road in terms of helping others, but we want to continue to do that. So I think that message hopefully will come across from today's visit as well. And I suppose the peace process wasn't that far away in the back of my mind, and there is unrest and there is difficulties at the moment, and I think the Dalai Lama being here, first of all, sends a message out to the rest of the world that this city, Northern Ireland, there is a level of normality. Look how far we've come. The Peace Bridge today is an amazing example of a amazing symbol of how far this place has come, and you can't take that for granted. So, but at the same time, you know, we also can't take peace for granted. And I think the Dalai Lama coming here, hopefully his message will remind us of the importance of peace.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would remind you to keep your questions brief, because you know Richard can go on. Anyone else there? Billy Graham.
Richard, I have a microphone for you here. Yeah, I just want to ask you, Richard, given your charity and its particular vision for peace and reconciliation and the work that this charity has done, do you think that perhaps there are lessons for our Northern Ireland politicians to learn from this kind of work? And there are still difficulties in the peace process. I think more can be done by all sides to reach out in terms of healing and reconciliation. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't be as presumptuous to say that they could learn from each other in Crossfire or anything, but certainly I think that politicians have a very important role to play in how they manage what is, after all, a very, very significant peace process in a global context. If you look at the conflicts in the world that have been going on for centuries, and here we have seemed to have found a resolve to ours, and that can't be taken lightly, and we really should grab it and run with it. I think politicians have a challenge, and they just need to move away from, I suppose, their own camp, probably stop playing to their own audiences at times. And I think they've actually done that as well, to be honest. But I suppose that what I would often say about the peace process is, you know, and it's a personal view, like the peace process for me is not something that's way out there. The peace process for me is not something that belongs to the First and Deputy First Minister or Stormont. It belongs to you and me. And I think we have the challenge within ourselves about, you know, as to how we are dealing with our own personal peace process. And I think the Dalai Lama talks about, I heard him say it today already, about, in order to make anybody else happy, you have to find happiness yourself. And I suppose that's a similar thing to what I'm saying, in the sense that, you know, for this peace process to work in Northern Ireland, for us to have true reconciliation, then I think it's got to happen within yourself. And I mean, I've managed to do that. I've met the British soldier that shot me. Me and Charles are friends now. Charles is here today. He's not in this building, but he's here today. He'll be on stage over in the venue when we go over. And you know, that has been an amazing experience for me. And I think the challenge is somebody somewhere has got to draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough. We've got to have a new beginning, whatever that beginning is.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
There's one here.
Hi, Richard. Michael O'Donnell, BBC Radio Foyle.
That's Michael.
Richard, you mentioned when you were 10 and you lost your sight when you were struck by the rubber bullet, how much of a positive influence that had on your life. Were you a positive person before that, or did that sort of force you to regroup psychologically?
I was a positive person. I was 10 years of age, I suppose, and I don't know if I was positive or not. I was very happy-go-lucky young fella, really. It never, you know, I get the opportunity to talk in schools and stuff like that a lot, and I always say, like, there was nothing significant about me. I was just an ordinary, everyday young fella, more or less anonymous, annoying the neighbours playing football or whatever it might be. But the bottom line is, what happened to me made me different. And I don't know what it was. I do think my family and my parents were very significant in the sense that they instilled something in me, which, you know, around the whole area of forgiveness and, you know, moving on. And I think that impacted me. I suppose I think I must have had some kind of a positive personality. I don't think it's all down to just my parents. I think it's a combination of my age, a combination of the personality I had, and the family that I come from, and then that widespread support that I received from, you know, the community. And I often think if we could bottle that in some way, and use it as an example, not me or anything, but that whole sort of combination of people and health and goodwill, you know.
Any other questions for Richard? I can certainly say that Richard has become a bit of a verb in our office because we associate him so much with doing things and certainly getting you to do things as well. You know, I think it's worth noting that the Dalai Lama said to Richard's mum this morning, "Your son is my hero, and so you are the mother of my hero. You are also my hero." So I mean, there's a lot of humanity coming there through there, Richard.
That's right. I mean, it's like everything else, you know, when the Dalai Lama calls me his hero, I mean, I try to manage that in some way, you know, and understand it in some way and try to process it. Simply because people like you ask me sometimes, and, you know, I hope that he means that what people have done for me in my life, and that's what he's acknowledging. But when I say, you know, when I seen him say it to my mommy the day, first of all, he asked to go meet my mother and set the whole thing off on a different track this morning. Security, obviously, were there for a real challenge. But I mean, that says a lot about the Dalai Lama. You know, he wanted to meet my mother because she wasn't well enough to come and see him. And he went up and he met her, and just, you know, well, first of all, to have the Dalai Lama in your kitchen is quite unique. But also to just see him being so compassionate with my mother and to acknowledge her as some kind of a hero for me is just, I think it's great for her because she did set an example. She is, for me, a woman who dealt with an awful lot in her life and dealt with it in a way that you know, she didn't ask for any help, she did, or any recognition. She done it in a very humble, ordinary way.
Richard, you're Ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
How are you doing? I started without you. Are you alright?
You can drop. Can you?
Oh no, go ahead.
Could you?
No, I'm finished now. I was just waiting on you. You have a seat? Yeah. I was talking about my mother this morning.
Oh, wonderful.
About you. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to say a few more remarks? First of all, Richard, yourself.
Yeah, just to say that I'm delighted His Holiness is here. I really am. I am in a very unique position, Your Holiness, that someone like you responds to an email from me, and you've always been open to anything I've asked you to do, and I can't describe what that means to me in the privacy of my own thoughts. I just have a very warm feeling when I think of His Holiness. And I think we're very lucky to have someone like His Holiness as a patron of Children in Crossfire, because as I've said on many occasions, and I say it now, His Holiness is an icon of peace, he's an icon of compassion and forgiveness, and to me is the single most important example in the world of what we should try to be. So I'm so honoured and so delighted to have you here today, and thank you so much for coming, Your Holiness.
Your Holiness, would you like to say anything, an opening remark?
I think some of you, already know. Since many years, you see, we know each other. I think very well. So because this is so close of a friend, so I always teasing him, like Bishop Tutu. Also, relations, friendship is so close. So sometimes he described me as a mischievous Dalai Lama. Oh, Bishop Tutu. And then I also respond to him, you also mischievous person. So anyway, I think this third time, right? Third time or fourth time? Second time. Second time, yeah. I see. Derry, no, Derry, second time. So, this time one, I think very special sort of significance to me is meeting with and his brothers and sisters, they are youngsters that I met. I consider this day is something very special day. I usually describe him as my hero. So now today I met hero's mother and brothers, sisters. And I also told mother, since your son become hero, so you also, I consider hero mother. Right, mother hero, so like that. Mother Quran hero.
Heroine.
Ah,
Heroine.
heroine, like that. Hmm?
Okay, can we take some?
So when I was in meeting with those people whose age over 90 or over 100, recently in South India, I met one Indian sadhu, his age 107. Yeah. So when I met such old people, and I also got more enthusiasm. Oh, I may live over 100 years. So I always mention when he got that sort of a tragic sort of situation. See, in spite of that, I think unthinkable tragic sort of situation on young boy. He kept his mind more calm mind, more peaceful mind. So as a result, you see, his rest of his life very smooth. And he found very beautiful his wife, and now 2 young girls. So we should learn. A person, if you see keep calm mind, then in spite of such tragic sort of experience, your life can carry peaceful life. So, and then at the time when he got the tragedy, you see, not necessarily religious practitioner, ordinary boy. So that demonstrates everybody as a human being, we have that potential there. So I usually consider human beings are more gentle nature. Sometimes I jokingly telling people, look other mammals, tigers, even cats, you see, their sort of life depend on others' life. So nature create their sort of physical sort of condition. I said this, fangs, and you see their nails also like that. Then rabbit, deers, these vegetarian animals, their teeth and their nails, these things also accordingly. So judging that, then we check our teeth, nail, we belong to vegetarian animal, more peaceful, clear. I often is telling people, look, fingers, you see, our hand, finger is very good for, you see, doing that, and then hugging, like that. The horse or donkeys or these, they are, you see, hand and leg, not like ours, you see, their sort of legs and hand, you see, cannot hug, only to kick. So our physical structure really you see, shows our nature is more gentleness. And then we are a social animal. Each individual's life, or successful life, happy life, entirely depend on the rest of the community. So, those people who just think oneself, self-centered attitude, no bother about others or well-being, is essentially against the human nature, irrespective of whether believer or non-believer. That's my fundamental sort of belief. We really need a sort of feeling of sense of concern of others' well-being on the basis of, at least on the basis of oneness of humanity. Then I think we can build this world more happier world, more compassionate world. So that we, human beings ourselves, must make effort to build that. It is not sufficient. It is unrealistic. Just pray God and bring peaceful world. Without our effort is unrealistic. So we must make effort.
Okay,
Yes. Now questions.
we have some questions. The first question, Eileen Magner, RT.
Um, Your Holiness, you're going to make a very symbolic walk across the Peace Bridge with the leaders of the two churches and a lot of children. Is there one simple message you hope that that walk will send out to people in Derry and beyond?
That simply is a remind. Peace is important. Peace is possible. Now, we human beings ourselves who create violence, which is, as they, destroy peace. So that our own creation. So logically, peace also we must sort of create. So this kind of sort of walk and people from different sort of groups come together. A simple pointed sort of desire, hope, peace, harmonious society. I think very good.
Okay.
If rain comes, then I don't know.
No rain.
I don't know.
No rain.
Seems some rain is coming.
We're in Derry, it'll rain. Louise? Sorry, Marion.
Hi, Your Holiness. I'm Marion Shanley West. I'm from Drumlin Media TV. I had lots of questions for you, but the one most important one I wanted to ask you was, could I give you a hug?
Okay. But don't kiss.
That'll be queuing up.
Sometimes you say, some ladies, they also say, lipstick. Kiss here. Then some you say, some bars. Okay.
All right, okay.
That leaves out.
Thank you.
Well, if you had been from RTE, they would have made you give you one to everyone in the audience. Rona?
Yeah.
Rona Tarrant?
Hi, Your Holiness. It's kind of like Eileen's question, but you said when you were here last time that young people should look to the future with a vision and more seriously. And then I suppose you have this gesture today with all those young children. What do you hope that message will send out to the younger children, particularly about Ireland?
Many different parts of the world, I always telling the younger generation, this morning also I mentioned, the people whose age below 30, 20, 15, these people, I think the lady and you also, I think that it belongs to generation of 21st century. This is my century, my generation century, is now gone. So this century, just beginning. Only over 12 years passed, remaining yet to come. So future still in our hand. Past not in our hand, already happened. So therefore, the younger generation must sort of have vision, not your own family or immediate sort of interest, but global level. And then global level, I think eventually, I always was telling, this century should be a century of dialogue. Past century, century of violence, over 200 millions of people killed. If that amount of sort of violence really brought a better world, happier world, then some people may justify that immense violence, but that's not the case. So therefore, now there's no sort of other way. We must fight. We must stock up. This century should be century of peace. In order to create a century of peace, peace does not mean no longer any problem. Problem remain. So the creation of a peaceful world means whenever we face problem, try to solve that problem through dialogue, through talk. We understand others also have the right to live happily. So even it's a different opinion or conflict, we have to find both sides try to make effort to bring mutually agreeable solution. That's the practical only way. So therefore, young people, we perhaps, and you also, I think now time comes, rest and watching those generation of 21st century, whether they really carrying sensible view or not, sensible work or not. That's now our responsibility. Otherwise, we now already retired, so we are watching you. Sometimes I jokingly telling people, young people, I think after 15, 20 years, I no more here, but then I may be in heaven or hell. Or in either way, you see, the end of this 21st century, I think whether be happier humanity or miserable humanity due to your younger the generation of this century who just at the beginning of that century work hard. And whether you see world become that way or the destructive or the miserable way, you see, we only watch. And so you have the main responsibility. That's why when I meet, you see, people, particularly younger people, I emphasize now, you have the opportunity, you have the sort of ability or opportunity to create a better world. So think more wisely, and work hard. That's very, very important. So that I always tell people. And then perhaps selfish reason. When I meet the young people, and I also feel I'm a little bit younger. When I meet old people, then I also feel I'm an old person.
Well, I better let somebody old in here then. Billy Graham, you have a question.
Oh, my generation now. Yes.
Your Holiness, welcome back to Derry. I hope you're not getting the cold.
No, not in Derry, I like it.
Yeah, I would just like to ask, you've become a world traveller and been to many parts of the world. You've been to Derry twice now. Is it somehow ironic that you're not able to visit your homeland, Tibet, the place of your birth? And how do you deal with this pain, consciously or unconsciously, in not being able to go back? And do you think in this lifetime of yours that you will be able to visit your homeland?
Firstly, I always talk and sort of think on the level of human being. Then second level, I'm thinking and talking on as a believer, Buddhist. The third level, then Tibetan. So that kind of mental attitude really immense help. China, also human being. Chinese also human being. China also, I think, most populated sort of say country. If I just think about Tibet, then maybe more frustration. Now I think the Tibetan case, if we look Tibet issue locally, really hopeless. One ancient nation with ancient cultural heritage now dying. However, Tibet issue is very much related with development in China proper, or leadership sort of thinking. So now China proper, now today is China. Compare 30, 40 years ago, much changed. Many of my friends, some Tibetan also, they surprised in China proper, much freedom. In Tibet area, much restriction. And then also, you see, last now several years, I met number of Chinese. Now today, the Buddhist population in China, now over 400 millions. So, as a matter of fact, you see, China is the biggest Buddhist population in the world. So therefore, things are changing. The leadership now have to, long run, leadership have to follow the public sort of view, public sort of wish, or public sort of thinking, public desire, or public sort of thinking. So therefore, you see, and then also, I always is mentioning, the world trend is openness, democracy, rule of law, freedom. China, no matter what very powerful nation, still part of the world, so have to go along the world trend. The world trend that way, China go this way, impossible for their own future, concern for their own future. So therefore, in order to carry constructive, important role on global level, China must carry more sensible policy, not isolated sort of narrow-minded thinking. So therefore, judging from that, the Tibet issue is very, very hopeful. Now already, my age, nearly now 78, but I believe within my lifetime, definitely, I will have the opportunity to return to Tibet. Like that.
Okay, thank you. We've just time for 2 more questions, and they have to be quick. So I'm going to take Louise McCreesh.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Louise McCreesh, Irish Language with BBC Radio Ulster. We live in a very divided society here, as you know, and I know that you're meeting today with leaders in our education system. Do you have a message as to how the communities, all the communities, can live together and maybe through education to learn?
Since my first visit, you see, the different sort of different group with different interest, Now here we must make distinction, political side. That have to solve through the close, realistic discussion with politicians or leaders. That essentially the problem due to political reason should not mix with religious belief, Catholic, Protestant. That's right from the beginning. So I emphasize on that. So then, whether you like it or not, you have to live this way. It already happened. Now, keep more frustration, more sort of frustration, and divide they and we. Or then take, you see, the position, both sides, more tougher line. It's a source of problem, source of suffering. No benefit, no help finding solution. Only way, sensible way, realistic way, sit together, talk, and consider others also, your own brothers, sisters. You have to live side by side. That's the reality. Then political solution through majorities or desire. You can change. You can consult. You can work. So this morning, one person asked me, you see, a little bit sort of tiredness about this. Getting tired because of peace process. I told. No other alternative. If you have this other alternative, then abandon this method, then seek some other method. There's no other method. No other choice. Have to work. Have to live together. So we should not act like animal. Animal, particularly those who are bulls. Fight during mate time, season, like that. So we are human beings. We must think long-term interest and wider perspective. That's, I think, very, very important. Should not act with too much emotion. When emotion develop, our sort of brain which can judge the reality. When too much emotion, that brain not function properly. So calm mind, use our brain which can analyze reality and find a realistic approach. So should not take decision out of emotion. Okay. I always tell Tibetan also. Some Tibetan, too much emotion, very angry, towards Chinese. No help to solve this problem. Without anger, respect other, respect Chinese brothers, sisters. And then, you see, like Tibetan issue, is because of that, no good, neither way, either. Therefore, we have to find mutually equitable solution. I do that. So, your case also, you have to think that way. There's no other choice.
Okay, can we go to the final question? Just one thing I should say is that later on today, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will actually present a Youth Compassion Award here in the city. So that'll be later on this afternoon. The final question, the person has travelled quite a distance, I think, to come here. Gillian Cranny?
Cranny?
Okay, would you like to put your question?
Hello, His Holiness. I'm really pleased to be here. I've come from Spain today to ask you some questions, and one of those is, talking about compassion and unconditional love. Does compassion also have to be unconditional, or where's the line between that? Is it cruel? Do you have cruel to be kind?
Actually, take serious concern of others' well-being is the best way to get your own interest. As I mentioned earlier, we are social animals. If you create more enemy, do you think then you get real sort of, happiness, or create more friends? Obviously, we are social animals. So therefore, no matter how you see the able person or successful person, single remain in remote area, how can you live? Your whole life depends on the rest of the community, rest of the society, rest of the people. So then Ireland depends on rest of the Kazoda, rest of the Europe. And whole Europe future depends on rest of the world. So that's a modern reality. Ecology is a problem, and also the global economy, everything interdependent. That's a new reality. So therefore, take care of others' interest is the best way to fulfill your own happy life. Clear? Okay. So therefore, sometimes the people, you see, have the wrong impression. Altruism, infinite altruism means forget your own interest. That's totally wrong. Best way to fulfill your own interest is taking care of others. Mentally also, more sort of sense of caring of others' well-being, you get more self-confidence. That brings more inner strength. That reduces fear. And you can carry your activities transparently. That creates trust. Trust creates friendship. Okay? Now, for example, here, I'm talking to you. If I consider myself, I'm Tibetan, Asian, not European, then Tibetan, and I'm Buddhist, then even more, I'm Dalai Lama. I'm a holy person. That kind of feeling, that kind of mental attitude creates barrier. If I consider myself as another human being, we are same. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. You want happy life. I want happy life. Same. We all have the same right. That kind of feeling, immediately, you see, develop closeness feeling. So I always see emphasis on that level. So therefore, you see, taking care of other or altruistic sort of mental attitude is the best way to achieve your own individual happy life and successful life. And you become more popular. Money alone will not be popular. I think best judgment can do by animal. I have a small cat, and I show sincerity. Sometimes even dogs or cats also know your attitude truly sincere or not. Even you are feeding, but they know, oh, you are not very sincere. In some birds also know that, isn't it? You treated them sincerely, seriously, and then they appreciate. So that's the power of love, power of compassion. So we also, biologically, we also, the same category, we also have the a biological factor, appreciate affection. And every person or every every mammals who appreciate other appreciation, others' affection, then that naturally also have potential to show affection to others. Clear. Like that.
Okay, thank you. You're very welcome to the city where there's nobody strangers and everyone's a friend. So I could ask the journalists, if you're not going over to the bridge, could you just stay here for a few minutes while His Holiness leaves? And I'd like to thank His Holiness for the press conference this morning. Thank you very much.